Hey, this is Derek Rose with the Conscious Resistance Network. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. And I want to do a video about Facebook, Russia, um, the election, the upcoming midterm elections, and the future, censorship, Alex Jones, all these kind of interconnected topics so we can see exactly what does all this mean. But before we do that, I want to remind you guys, do check out theconsciousresistance.com so you can get all of our latest content, including recent articles that I've just put up about the TSA expanding their surveillance operations around the country, and those of us crazy conspiracy theorists who warned you years ago that this was going to happen, and a new study on geoengineering showing a loss of crop yields in the future, and of course much more content, including the fact that we have passed 1 million views on YouTube. You can win smart cash for free. Oh, and of course, if you want to support us on the Liberate Your Mind East Coast Tour, you could do that as well. All of that, plus much, much more at theconsciousresistance.com. So please do check that out. Now let's move on to the topic of today. I said I want to talk to you guys about Russia, about Facebook, about censorship, Alex Jones, things of this sort. Let's get into that. So the first thing I want to say is, if you missed a video on my channel already, I did a little rant while I was on the tour about Alex Jones and what this means for the rest of independent media. This was just kind of stream of consciousness, my first thoughts on the situation. I'll post that below for those who want to keep up. But what I do want to say is, as I've had more time to think about this, I can definitely see what's going on here. So we have a situation where people like Alex Jones and many others are now getting censored from Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, elsewhere. And this has been going on long before Alex Jones was crying about it and making a big noise about it. Of course, it's important because, yes, if it happens to Alex Jones, it can and will happen to the left and the right wing. However, what I've seen start to happen now in this situation is where certain individuals are saying, like, hey, you know, this is kind of crazy. Like, we shouldn't just let Facebook and Google and YouTube do this. And in my first thoughts, I did say, hey, they are a private company. Like, if they want to delete someone off that, they can do so. That's the mistake we make by using their platforms. However, I do want to add a caveat to that, and that is that, yes, Facebook, Google, YouTube, all these private tech companies, which are essentially just partners with the intelligence agencies, the spy agencies of the U.S. government and others, they have benefited off of government money from the U.S. government now, and they also have had contracts, and just you can look between Intel, the CIA's venture firm, and Facebook, and you know, some of these, the connection to the CIA and to Google and all these kind of things that make it obvious that, yes, they are essentially one and the same. The corporations, the tech companies, and government are partners, and they're working together on this, right? So that is without a doubt true. So we can't necessarily just say, hey, they're private companies, they can do whatever the heck they want. Yeah, I guess technically, but at the same time, no, they're not. They are benefiting off taking from government, which is, again, a big problem of statism. That's why people should just reject government and not participate in that system. But as it stands, we have that system, and these companies benefit from the existence of it. And because of that benefit, because of their partnership with government, they're able to do pretty much whatever the heck they want, and we're seeing that play out now. So the result of that is people are now saying, these companies are so big and government's already involved in them in some ways that we can't just let them continue to operate in the fashion that they have. We should basically put government in charge of them to make sure that nobody can be deleted from, you know, digitally from the interwebs. Because the other aspect of this is that this is all a digital matrix. You know, we're witnessing with the internet, this implementation of the digital smart grid, as many people have been talking about, the dangers of becoming smart grid. We're already seeing this happen in China and elsewhere, right? So think about this scenario. People are complaining about censorship and surveillance via social media companies. The companies have gotten so big that they actually affected the election in 2016, according to the U.S. government, and, you know, because Russia took out Facebook ads and whatnot. So, and they also did, you know, use Twitter. Trump was using Twitter. So the argument is going to be made basically that not only are these companies not necessarily private, they're working with governments, and that's true, but they are censoring people, they are affecting the elections, that they are so big now and so important to the world because so many people use them that we simply cannot leave them as they are. That we have to put the government in charge of them because it's that important. Otherwise, Russia or China or anybody could interfere with our elections. Don't talk about the U.S. interfering with other people's elections. That's totally irrelevant. But if the government is not put in charge of these tech companies and they're not made public utilities, then they will continue to censor people, and ultimately they could potentially alter the election. That's the argument that is going to be made, and honestly, I'm seeing that made already. So I want to show you guys this quick clip from the Jimmy Dore show. Now, Jimmy Dore is definitely left-wing. He considers himself progressive. He works with the Young Turks. And if you've watched my channel, you know I have issues with the Young Turks and their reporting. But I will say Jimmy Dore is definitely very awake. And he takes a lot of shit from people on the left, the progressive side of things, because he continues to stand for free speech and because he is actually critical of the war in Syria. He's critical of both Trump and the Democratic establishment. So in my eyes, he's doing a lot of good work. However, I saw this video just a couple days ago called Facebook Now Targeting Left-Wing Pages as Predicted. And let me play you this clip right here where you can literally see what I was talking about. You can see the fact that Jimmy Dore is playing into the exact problem that I was just discussing.
And we told you that Facebook is a monopoly, just like YouTube is a monopoly, Google. These are monopolies, and what we should do is break them up. We're not going to do that. So then what we should do is then treat them like a public utility, just like the internet. So you can't just take someone's public utility away from them. You can't, if you're AT&T, you can't just turn off the phone on someone because you don't like what they're saying. So the view of this show and lots of other people, or some other, not lots, some other people, is that the Facebook and YouTube and Google are monopolies. And the fact that it's the law that Facebook is a private company and they can deplatform anybody when they feel like it doesn't make it right. It used to be the law that Rosa Parks had to set up the...
All right, so you guys kind of get where he's going with this. Now, like I said, I'm glad that he did choose to do this, and it's kind of cool that he actually covered this ground. So I want to put this back into perspective now. Like I said, the issue that we're dealing with right now is because of the fake news meme spreading after the election. Not only has the independent media been attacked successfully, and the independent media in America is now completely, on its deathbed, at least those who are truly independent, anti-establishment media. And in addition to that, the fake news meme also helped create further division where each side of the political aisle, or all sides, can just say, hey, that's fake news to their enemies and just deny any truth that they don't agree with. And this also served as great propaganda against Russia and pretty much any other foreign entity, but right now at the moment, Russia, saying that Russia interfered with the elections, that they used Facebook as a way to spread fake news and to interfere with the elections. And so because of this, because of how dangerous and nefarious this is, we need to make Facebook and these tech companies a public utility, put the government in further control. I mean, obviously, that's the problem, reaction, solution. Create the problem, the people react, and the solution is, well, let's get the government to figure out how to do it, right? And obviously, that's not going to be good for freedom, for truth, or for anything like that. We're moving closer and closer to the ministry of truth. So that's where we currently are, right? Now, I want to bring your attention to the following articles here. You have this new article coming out from The Atlantic. It says that we regret to inform you that Russia is probably at it again. Earlier this month, Facebook announced that it had detected and shut down more than 30 Russia-linked fake Facebook pages created as part of a campaign to influence the U.S. midterm elections, which are coming up. In case there was any doubt, Russia's effort to influence American politics continues. So here we go. The Russian government has one overriding objective with regard to the United States: to weaken America so that it loses its will and ability to counter Russian objectives, including establishing a sphere of influence in Eastern Europe. Now, let me just stop there. That probably is true. Russia probably does want to weaken America and get more influence in Eastern Europe, just like the U.S. government wants to weaken Russia and get more influence in Eastern Europe and more influence in Africa and more influence in South America and more influence in Europe and more influence in Antarctica and everywhere else, because they're a freaking empire. These are empires battling it out. So the idea in this framing of like America as the good guys is just a bunch of bullshit. To that end, the Kremlin actively exploits and deepens political, cultural, economic, racial, and other societal rifts. If Americans are fighting one another, they are less likely to notice, much less press, the government to block Russian actions in Ukraine, Georgia, and Syria. I would also add, If Americans are fighting one another due to fake news, they're less likely to pay attention to the people above them at the top, above Trump, above Putin, the people who are actually managing things. So this article goes on to say that there are 4 different ways that Russia is going to attempt to interfere with the upcoming midterm elections. Moscow will continue to assist Putin-friendly U.S. candidates and seek to hurt his critics through the methods such as messaging tailored to suppress voter participation. This is why people accuse me when I'm telling people of non-voting and saying don't be apathetic non-voters, but use it as a strategy. Use agorism to counter economics. I literally had somebody ask me yesterday if I was a Russian bot on the Conscious Resistance Facebook page because of that. Now look at this. The Walk Away campaign, purportedly an organic campaign of lifelong Democrats leaving the party, has been amplified by Russian social media accounts and featured on the Russian propaganda outlet RT. I've been featured on RT as well, and it is true. I did look into that. The Walk Away campaign appears to be connected to accounts that are either fake and supposedly have, connection to Russia. But that goes back to the video I just released yesterday talking about why it's important to build your own movements, right? So, second, it says the Kremlin will continue to attempt to make financial contributions to U.S. politicians. Third, the Russian government will try to cyber penetrate U.S. election infrastructure, just as it did in 2016, which has never been proven. Yes, CrowdStrike came out and said that the Russians did this. That was later disproven and found to be false. If you don't know about that, you need to get on your research game. Yeah, so this goes on and on, right? So this article is painting the picture saying that the Russians are getting ready to interfere with the next election. Get ready for it. And when we go here, you can see who is this article written by. Evelyn N. Farkas, a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council. She was Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Russia, Ukraine, and Eurasia during the Obama administration. Okay, so she's with the Atlantic Council. She worked for the Obama administration. Now let's take a look at an article I wrote about, I don't know, 2 months ago or so. Actually, yeah, back in May. Facebook announces partnership with think tank connected to NATO, the military-industrial complex. Facebook announced a new partnership with the Atlantic Council, the same Atlantic Council that is over here writing this piece for theatlantic.com, telling you that Russia is getting ready to interfere with the upcoming election. So let's see what we can find out. So it says Facebook announced a new partnership with the Atlantic Council, a think tank which claims to provide a forum for international political, business, and intellectual leaders. The social media giant has said the partnership is aimed at preventing Facebook from being abused during elections. So this is the exact purpose, the exact reason that they partner together, to stop elections. So of course they're talking about this, right? And this is what the press release from Facebook says. We're excited to launch a new partnership with the Atlantic Council, which has a stellar reputation looking at innovative solutions to hard problems. Experts from their digital forensic research lab will work closely with our security policy and product teams to get Facebook real-time insights and updates on emerging threats and disinformation campaigns from around the world. This will help increase the number of eyes and ears we have working to spot potential abuse on our service. And it says this will ensure that Facebook plays a positive role during elections around the world. Now, they go on to describe how the Atlantic Council's Digital Research Unit monitoring missions will be monitoring traffic during elections and other highly sensitive moments. Okay, so remember this. They said they're going to work with the Digital Forensic Research Lab of the Atlantic Council. So what the heck is that? The Atlantic Council of the United States was established in 1961 to help bolster support for international relations. And although it's supposedly not officially connected to the NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the Atlantic Council has spent decades promoting causes and issues which are actually beneficial to NATO member states. And of course, the United States and allies are part of NATO, and that is the way that the Western governments and the Western powers wage war unilaterally often against countries that are not a part of NATO and that they don't agree with. They say, oh, well, this is a humanitarian effort. We're going to send NATO troops to go after that, right? The Atlantic Council is a member of the Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is an umbrella organization which, quote, acts as a network facilitator in the Euro-Atlantic and beyond. The Atlantic Treaty Organization works similarly to the Atlantic Council, bringing together political leaders, academics, military officials, journalists, diplomats to promote values that are favorable to NATO member states. Again, officially, the Atlantic Council and the Atlantic Treaty Organization and NATO, these are all separate organizations, but the line between these organizations is razor thin. And what you basically have here is that the Atlantic Council is a think tank which gives companies or nation states access to military officials, politicians, journalists, diplomats, etc., to help them develop plans to implement their various strategies and visions. Now, these strategies, of course, often involve getting NATO governments or industry insiders to make decisions that they might not have made without a visit from the Atlantic Council. This also allows for certain individuals or nations to push their ideas under the cover of hiring what appears to be a public relations agency, but is actually selling access to high-profile politicians who have the power to affect public policy. So everyone from George H.W. Bush to Bill Clinton and to Zbigniew Brzezinski, the international agent of disorder, have spoken at or attended these council events. So this is really important to know that and to put that into perspective. Now, I'll just go on to this next part here. In 2016, the New York Times actually wrote that the Atlantic Council has expanded its operations hugely in the last decades, and it actually gave donors like FedEx specific agendas and specific access to politicians and the people that FedEx wanted to access in order to pass certain bills that helped their business. Now, think about this. Basically, the Atlantic Council says that if you donate at least $50,000 a year, you can speak at an Atlantic Council, an event which will include top U.S. and foreign leaders present. So somebody like FedEx says, hey, we want to pass a bill that's going to make our business easier or get rid of this regulation or this, whatever. Can we give you $50,000 a year and you get us connected to these events? Either bring us to those events or host events for us and bring all the politicians and all the people you have connections to and help them get their businesses done. Now, it goes further than this. According to the website, the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensic Research Lab has operationalized the study of disinformation by exposing falsehoods and fake news, documenting human rights abuses, and building digital resilience worldwide. So this lab tracks global disinfo campaigns, fake news stories, and subversive attempts against democracy. Now, the interesting thing is you go visit their website and you can see that under the Atlantic Council's category of disinformation, there's a story called Breaking Aleppo, which is a video production where it pretty much just repeats the same Western narrative of, that Assad is this horrible dictator who won't stop using chemical weapons on his own people. And of course, the report also promotes the white helmets who have been discredited as a propaganda outfit. So the Digital Forensic Research Lab and the Atlantic Council are all full of it and promoting the interest of the Western governments and of the politicians and the people they work with. Now look at the list of financial supporters who support this non-governmental organization. The Atlantic Council receives funding from the Brookings Institution. The Brookings Institution wrote a paper in 2008 called Which Path to Persia, basically laying out the plans for how to invade Iran that we're seeing unfold right now. We got the Carnegie Endowment, Cato Institute, the Council on Foreign Relations, and of course the Rand Corporation. They also have various members of the military-industrial complex as the benefactors to their system. And you can see here, just, you look at the names of the companies, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, it's the same old thing, right? And on and on and on. In fact, the Atlantic Council actually receives direct financial support from the U.S. Air Force, Army, Navy, and Departments of Energy, as well as the U.S. mission to NATO. So by no means is this group any sort of independent think tank. Like, they are a think tank directly connected to NATO, the military-industrial complex. They're partnered with Facebook. They're going to tell us what is real, what is Facebook, what is fake. And now they're coming along saying, hey, watch out, the next elections, they're going to interfere with with the elections. And this brings me back to my original point. They're building up towards another interference with the elections, and they're going to blame it on Russia, and they're going to continue to use this as divide and conquer. They're going to say, see, we told you Facebook was so important, we need to turn it into a public utility. Russians are affecting it. They affected the 2016 election. Now they're affecting the midterm elections. And the Atlantic Council and these groups are going to come together. They're going to clamor, and the people will clamor together and say, save us, save our democracy, save our republic, whatever, and fall for it and put the government right in control of the internet, basically, and of social media. And that will be the completion of this psyop that's been running for the last 2 years and the death of the independent media and independent thinking in general. And I want to bring your mind back to this article, this video that I did 2 years ago, December 21st, 2016, called Divide and Conquer, Donald Trump, Fake News, and Russia. And basically, I want you to go visit this article on your own time to see what exactly I was talking about here. And I'll link to this below. But basically, it's exactly what we're seeing unfold right now. This is what I predicted would happen. That they would use Russia and they would use Donald Trump as a wrecking ball to come in, destroy the truth movement, destroy the freedom movement, and divide the people either as supporters of him or as opponents of him. Then use the Russian thing to spread the fake news meme, to attack the independent media, to attack the independent journalism, to take control of social media. And they're continuing to use this, boogeyman of Putin and of the Russians and of Trump to divide everybody. And it's working magically. So wake the hell up, spread the word, tell people what's going on, tell people to think critical and stop blindly swallowing these things. So this is very important. You need to look into this. Please go ahead and share this video with your friends. Thank you guys for watching. Check all the links below. And seriously, the midterm elections are coming up, and they're going to spread this BS that Russia has interfered, and they're going to do it without any evidence. They're going to rush forth really quickly and try to seize power. That's what they always do. So mark my words, we'll be watching this video in a couple months, and we will see what happens. Thank you guys for supporting us. We are truly independent media, supported by Smart Cash and supported by you. So if you want to sponsor us, please go to patreon.com/DerekBros. Visit theconsciousresistance.com to get all of our work. And stay free out there, people. Remember, you're powerful, you're beautiful, you're free. Peace.